and we are back again. This is Beneath the Label on VapeOnTV. I know what it is. We're here with 5 Ponds today. I would love to have you guys introduce yourselves to our viewers so that they're familiar with who you are before we start the interview.
I'm Rodney Jarabak, and I'm the founder and president of 5 Ponds.
I'm Vince Tilly, West Coast sales rep for 5 Ponds.
Rob Fitzgerald, partner, CFO, 5 Ponds.
My name is Gavin Tucker, and I'm also one of the founders and COO of 5 Ponds.
Jay Waku, national sales. Hi Sam, and we all wanted to congratulate you on your engagement, by the way. Congratulations.
Thank you. Now I'm gonna blush. If anybody in the room would like to tell me if I need to turn up the volume, just let me know. I would love to first start with how you guys got started vaping and how you became involved with one another. So whether that's tied in, if those are if those things are tied together. Thank you.
Yeah, I think Rodney can answer that best. He kind of got us all together and started
Well,
the idea.
I haven't been vaping nearly as long as this guy right here, but I, oddly enough, was never a cigarette smoker. I was a cigar smoker, and I loved good cigars. And about 2 years ago, I was contacted by a gentleman who was developing a disposable electronic cigarette out of China. And he flew over to meet with me, and I was going to help him. I come from a branding background and was going to work with him on developing the packaging and everything around this new disposable e-cig that he was bringing to the market. And when he brought them over, he brought cases of them for me to play with to develop the packaging around. And I saw a tremendous need for what the product was bringing to the public. I mean, it was actually helping to get people off of cigarettes. And I started playing with the samples that he had left in my office for months to come, and would take them out on the golf course, where I always love to have cigars with the fellas here. And didn't like not knowing what was coming from China and what I was pouring into my lungs. So that was really, a couple months later, I was completely hadn't had a cigar since, and that was really the segue and introduction to vaping. I left. He's been vaping a lot longer than I have, so he can probably speak next.
Yeah, I got into the scene probably the end of 2009. My buddy had brought a little cig light back from China. And I was always of the mindset that when someone developed something that had flavor and was healthier for you, I'd be all over it. And so he brought back this little cig-a-like, and in the beginning it was just a novelty item. I mean, I'd never seen them before, and kind of got heavy into that. And it wasn't until the following year when, the Ego batteries started coming out and the Cardo tanks and whatnot that I really started paying attention to the market and just try to get as much information as possible as I could. So that kind of started me on the path. And I've been vaping for about 3 years now, strictly vaping, no cigarettes, no tobacco. So, I mean, it's definitely changed my life.
Yeah, we all have different stories. I mean, Fitz and I were really approached by Rodney after he was in his development stages with the disposables from China. And we sat down and we're discussing potentially getting involved in creating a business. And I was a smoker for probably 15 years, off and on, and would play golf with these guys a lot. We're all best friends for a lot of years. And when Rod first introduced us to this, I was trying to quit, and went out and got myself an Ego and a little Cardo tank, and started vaping on that. And really within about 3 or 4 days of trying it for the first time, I was completely hooked and had no desire to have any other cigarettes in my system from that point, to the fact where now I'm disgusted by the smell of them. I can tell when people have had cigarettes, and, it sticks to their clothes, and it almost disgusted me that I used to smell like that, from smoking in the past. So I've been pretty much diehard since we started the company a few years ago, and I've just been so excited that this is really a great alternative for people trying to get off of cigarettes.
I'll give my 2 cents. I chewed tobacco for 26 years, and my wife was just not liking spittoons or having anything to do with my face. There was no kissing going on, so I was borderline out of the mix with the old lady. So when Rodney, I was living in Hawaii at the time, Rodney had introduced this to me. It was a godsend, and ever since we'd have fun. Gavin and I were in elementary school. Rodney and I worked together back in the day. Vince was in the golf group, and then it all congealed. And Vince is our guru when it came to the mods we got collecting. So it was fun, but it's all about getting people off tobacco, and we all had to scratch that itch.
Well, and it sounds like the majority of you guys started out with either the 510 style batteries or Ego batteries. What do you vape now? I mean, have you moved on to rebuildables? Do you use cargo tanks?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say that I think that our liquid is probably best appreciated when it's either put through an RBA or dripped, just because there's so many different layers and complexities and what we're putting into a bottle. It's funny when developing new flavors, which we've been up to our eyeballs with this new mixology line for months on end now. Developing, you want to develop with a variable voltage so that you can test the liquids at all different temperatures. But back to your original question, what are we using now? Vince, what doesn't Vince use? That's one question. He's got everything known to man. But I'm obviously day to day. I'm a mech mod, and I'm a big fan of the GG Ithaca tanks. Got a fleet of those. Love the flavor we get out of K-Funds, and obviously love dripping. Dripping right now on the new Stellari by Cartel, and think that that's a pretty great new dripping device. You got 4 hours now, because Vince will go next.
Lately I've been on I got a new the Genesis, the ZNA device, ZNA 30. That's pretty much been my go-to. Also the Cartel mod and the Surefire King I've been rocking a lot lately. Typically, I'll rock a mech mod. I like to do 18350s, so I'll do shorty batteries. I don't really do sub-ohm. I'm typically going for flavor more than vapor production. So my go-to tanks lately have been the K-Fun, a Sway Fatty, and probably the Aqua are my recent favorites.
Kraken with cotton has been brought me back to the Ginny world, and I like it a lot. The flavor is really good. And then the GG products are great. The new Stellari Dripper is wonderful, and King Mod. We kind of have all the mods.
As you can see from the table, we've got K-Funds, Ithacas, right, Caravellas, Cartels, Surefires mods. So we've got quite a bit, and we like to kind of mix it up to keep it fresh.
Some more than others.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Oh, Jay's close.
Not even close.
It'll take him a few years to get caught up with this guy.
He's working on it. He's doing his best.
Yeah, I saw the new tasting bar that's going to go out since you've released the Mixology line, and it has convinced me that I must buy a K-Fun at some point in the next couple months. I'm excited. I've heard a lot of really good reviews on it. So
an engagement present. Engagement present. At our tasting bar, at our other location, we taste everybody that comes in on strictly K-Funds, just because, again, going back to what I said before, we feel that you really get the best flavor, not necessarily the best vapor production, but you definitely get the best flavor out of a device like that.
Well, and it's interesting because, y'all sent us the samples for the Memphis Vape Group forever ago, and I found it really helpful that you included the resistance that you thought that it would be best tasted at. And of course, I've tried the Mixology line, and I tried it at about half an ohm. I was at 0.5 ohms, which was an accident. I didn't mean to. But I've bumped it up to a 1 ohm coil, and they taste significantly different. So it really does influence how the flavors come out. So when did y'all start the company? I mean, I know that you go through it on the website about the initial inspiration, but when you decided to sit down and make a premium e-liquid line, how did that come together?
I mean, I'm trying to remember. We didn't actually first start shipping product and actually incorporate as a company until January of last year. So just, a little over a year ago. But the 5 signature series flavors were in development for probably 6 months. 5.5 anyway, prior to them being released. I mean, I know there's a lot of people that are probably, oh, it sounds a lot like Mixology. You've been talking about that since September. Our bad, but we wanted to make sure that we really got it right. And we think Mixology's there, but same thing happened with the original 5 flavors. So what does that make it?
About a year and a few months of actual production, but over 2 years approximately.
About when the inception started, yeah.
Yeah.
And did you encounter any big issues when you first started? Well, even I know you spend a lot of time in R&D, but when you decided to do production and when you started shipping orders out and getting a facility, I mean, how involved was that process?
Rapid.
It's quite involved. Quite involved.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, there's a lot that goes into it. Obviously, we're a handcrafted product, so we wanted to make sure that we could build enough product for projections, but we also don't like to pour too much of our product after it's been steeping because we want to make sure that we actually have the orders. We don't want people to be waiting too long to be getting our product or build a bunch of products just sitting on the shelf. So it was a little bit of a balancing act to make sure that we had enough product for our initial launch. After judging some of the response in the market, we were able to kind of forecast approximately with our growth monthly, how many bottles to start producing, making sure that we could source all of the ingredients at a larger scale and things of that nature. It was definitely a balancing act, but we achieved all of our goals in the first few months to make sure that our systems were put in place, because we do work under a quality system and everything has to be done systematically. The result of the product adheres to the quality that we want to provide our end users.
And I think, one of the things when we first started out in this endeavor, we always constantly said slow growth, slow growth, slow growth, keep the product intact. And we're constantly having to, turn business away because we want to create that slow growth model, make sure our flavors are intact, and every store that we ship out to is getting the same experience that they got the initial time and throughout their 5 ponds experience. So
yeah.
Well, and consistency is when it comes to juice is the big thing. I've had liquid from other manufacturers that I've tried it and loved it at 6 milliliter bottles and gotten a 30 ml, and it just tasted completely different, which I haven't experienced from y'all.
That really goes to the small batch production. We don't produce thousands of bottles in each lot. We really want to produce a smaller amount, and then we do batch testing. Consistency, as Fitzy has said, is key to making sure that each person, when they're in one of the stores that carries our product, we want to make sure that they have the same 5 ponds experience that they would have if they came into our tasting bar in Orange County. So that's really why we try to do it small growth, small batches, and then testing throughout to make sure that consistency is there.
So you mentioned just a few minutes ago, well, probably less than a few minutes ago, but you mentioned that you have issues sometimes with sourcing ingredients in the quantities that you need. Are there ingredients that you would like to use in e-liquid that you can't get in quantities to provide to in quantities that you need?
Yeah, and we can't tell you what those are because we're still trying to get them in bigger quantities. But yeah, there are definitely, that's a challenge.
Well, it's an exciting challenge for those of us.
Samantha, the flavors that are in our that go into full production, we're pretty confident in our ability to source those and not to have any sort of back orders or delays to any of our customers.
Right.
You know, we make sure. I mean, that's part of the R&D process, is to make sure that you know, we're able to provide a product to all of our customers without having back orders. We don't want to create that model.
Well, and it's astonishing how many people don't realize that research and development are two extraordinarily different aspects of any product. And I mean, you say you spend 6 months in development. Does that count the amount of time that it takes to literally go out and find these flavorings and find inspiration?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it encompasses all of that. You know, there's you know, obviously you come up with certain flavors that we're looking to produce, and making sure that you can source the flavors in larger quantities, and then you have to mix these and make sure that the end result is something that we're looking to provide in that specific flavor harmony. And then it comes tweaking those flavors to make sure that that flavor harmony and that finalized flavor is actually what we wanted to provide the end user. So, you know, maybe you think you're going to be buying a bunch of different products in this specific realm, or flavor, I should say, and then come to find out that we want to tweak a percentage here or there, and then you got to make sure that that next flavor is readily available also. So it's a long process. The 6 months could encompass, you know, all of that.
And some of these liquids have over 10 ingredients. So you're looking at steeping them at the right times and finding the perfect, again, flavor harmonies. So when the customer opens that bottle, they can drip it right away. And that research and development that Rodney was, it was painstaking, but at the same time, that really helped with the end result.
I'd imagine the hardest part is waiting for the flavors to blend so you can try them.
Yeah, that's true.
You're definitely anxious during that time period, that's for sure.
Before we get into talking about any specific flavors, because I have some questions about especially one particular flavor. I think you'll probably know which one it is too. You spend a lot of time traveling, whether it's initially promoting your product and then now promoting the Mixology Edition. What kind of differences have you observed in communities around the country, in the vape communities around the country?
It's a good question.
Kind of differences with what? I didn't hear that.
Differences in the vape community. I know Orange County and California is really saturated with vapors. I'd imagine you see people using electronic cigarettes fairly frequently in California or in Orange County. I hardly ever see people just on the street in my region. And I know a lot of other regions are vaping is almost a new thing.
I mean, when we're traveling these days, it's really to go touch our retail partners. So most of the traveling that we do these days is going to places that people are vaping. But you know, you're starting to obviously see it more and more and more. I think in the last couple of weeks we've been Washington, Oregon, Nevada, and Florida. And you're definitely seeing what I think probably not necessarily started, but the boom was in Southern California. And you're really seeing that start to spread nationwide and obviously worldwide. So I remember probably 6 months ago going down to Miami looking for retail partners or potential retail partners. And the industry, I would walk into vape shops down there that look at kind of a mech mod as, hey, what the heck is that? And where are you from? From Southern California, and then they want to ask all these questions about, well, what's happening there? You know that this is kind of where things are exploding from. And now, you know, fast forward 6 months later, in those areas like Florida or Miami area, there are stores down there that rival any store that we have here in Southern California. And that holds true, I think, throughout the nation.
Kentucky, your area too, Samantha. The evolution of the devices has lent itself to a kind of progress through the nation, and now it's time to start visiting these brick and mortars because people are ready for you know, quality liquid, multi-dimensional and complex, and that time a little while ago. So it's coming of age, and
It's happening fast.
Yeah,
And those same things are happening internationally as well in a lot of the countries throughout the EU as well, where they were started off with the ego type of setups to really bring a lot of the early adopters from cigarettes to the vaping and the e-cig industry. And now those groups are starting to source different mechanical mods, higher end variable voltage, tanks, grippers, things like that. And now they're starting to really source a lot of product from the United States on the liquid side, because as the mods and tanks evolve, the palette for the end user evolves, and they're looking for a new experience from some of the stuff that they were getting in the past.
And do y'all have any international retail partners, or are you in the United Kingdom or Canada, or?
We do. Today we sell to, Gavin will have a better count, but I think it's somewhere 12 countries that we have our products placed in now.
We're in the 2 countries you've mentioned. Obviously, Canada's got some regulatory issues they're still working through. The UK is different. France, Germany, Italy, Slovenia, and then a lot of the Southeast Asian markets as well carry our product, from Malaysia to the Philippines, Indonesia, places like that. So we do have quite a bit of representation, and really on a daily basis we get reached and touched by a lot of international contacts. We're looking to bring our product on. Spain is becoming a very large vaping country as well, and more stores are popping up there also.
And I'm willing to bet a lot of your international partners and experiences with international vapors kind of lend themselves to a broader palette, because I feel like, you know, I hear a lot of really interesting flavors come from, especially England. I
mean, it's funny you should say that, Samantha, because we met obviously with a group recently that talked about doing some business in the Asian market, and how they in Southeast Asia isn't necessarily leaning toward sweet or buttery or bakery style notes. They like things that are fruitier, a little zestier, a little more lively. And I think that our mixology line, based on a few hundred people maybe now that have had a chance to kind of see it or taste it, that demographic may go towards mixology more so than the signature series.
You know, my observations on the mixology line are right on there, because I'm admittedly a fruity vapor. I like fruits, and I feel like the mixology line offers a lot more really light, refreshing options for.
Yeah, the idea was definitely to give the vaping world something different from us. We have been known for the savory bakery type products, or flavor notes, I should say, with the Signature series, which has gone over very well in parts of Europe and the United States. But because we came out with really light exotic fruits and nuts and spices involved in the Mixology Edition, it just opens the door not only to those countries that are very experienced with our Signature series, but into other regions, like you mentioned, that are geared, their palates are a little more in tune to the exotic fruits and things of that nature.
So you've been talking about or developing mixology since September. How would you say that there was a flavor that came first in the line?
Castle Long.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the entire mixology line was kind of based on the popularity of Castle Long Reserve. And, you know, it was using that, that Kentucky bourbon note, and that really stemmed the development of coming up with 5 new flavors that, you know, again, we use no alcohol in any of our blends, but it's the note is there. And that was probably the inspiration more than anything else.
Well, and we actually have several questions about the Castle Long Reserve itself. I would be really interested in knowing whether it was, this is a hard question to phrase because it's a chicken or the egg question. Was it the idea of you wanted to age something in a barrel and then the juice itself, the flavors that you used came from that? Or did the flavors themselves inspire you to say, oh, well, you know what we should do? We should steep this in an oak barrel.
I mean, it actually, it didn't come from trying to find something that worked in the barrel. Castle Long, before it was even named Castle Long, was a flavor being played with way back in the very beginning. And, you know, the toasted coconut and the roasted almond and vanilla, it was just a really good flavor. And believe it or not, before we put Castle Long in the barrel, we were experimenting with Gambit in the barrel. The barrel the way that we hoped it would. And Castle Long then with the Kentucky bourbon, it just was a perfect marriage between, you know, charred oak and the bourbon note. So that's really how it came about.
Great. And this is actually another viewer question that I'm throwing in there because we're already talking about it. How much does the profile change after the oak barrel? Because I know you revamped the Castle Long just a little bit for the new mixology line. So in terms of the Castle Long Reserve before it's steeped and then after it's steeped in the barrel,
I think that the people that have tasted the mixology version of Castle Long, I mean, it's the identical blend. There's not a difference in percentages or anything. It's the same blend that we put into the barrel that, you know, hey, we wish we could do the barrel in mass production 365 days a year. You know, I do want to talk for a minute about Castle Long Reserve. It's disappointing that we can't, and I know that there's a lot of people that are disappointed out there that they can't get it all the time. It's such a labor-intensive process between having, and it's expensive, and that's a big part of why Castle Long costs more than our regular liquid. You know, having the barrels built and charred, and the barrels themselves are expensive, and then there's the rotating of the barrels multiple times per day to allow the liquid to actually make contact surface area wise with every bit of the barrel. And then there's the filtration process. And so you've got this barrel full of great liquid that all of a sudden has all these particulates of wood and burnt material from the oak that comes off in it, and it has to be filtered before it's bottled. So, you know, we haven't really found a way to scale that. And I think the answer was, you know, so many people are really enjoying the flavor that we should put it into mixology, and we should make it available 365 days a year, you know, in all 5 milligram strengths and at our normal price. Does that mean that the reserve's not going to still come out? They're actually saying that they like it a little bit better, believe it or not. Myself personally, I like the smoky oak flavor, but there's a lot of people out there that don't like single malt scotch, and they don't like even red wines, or they don't like things that have been aged in the barrel. And those people that have tasted the mixology version up till now say they like it better because it's a tad bit sweeter, because you don't have that oaky bite, and the coconut and the almond come through a little bit more because they haven't been subdued by the oak.
Well, having you know, Joe only vapes Castle Long Reserve. It drives me nuts because he vapes all my Castle Long. But
Oh, Joe.
Well, having been able to sort of compare them side by side, it really is a distinct difference. I like the Reserve too. But yeah, the Castle Long Mixology Edition is you can taste it's creamy. There's a creamy element to it that isn't in the Reserve. Although I feel like the coconut is stronger in the Reserve in some ways. Of course, my Reserve is very well steeped, so I've had it for a while. But it is a distinct difference, and you know it's a matter of taste. It's a matter of personal preference.
Absolutely.
So and I would like to go into the Mixology Edition for a while now. Really, did you encounter any? Is there a flavor that you really love out of the Mixology line? Is there one that really took your heart while you were making it?
I think we lost you there for a second.
Is there a flavor in the Mixology Edition that you really feel like is something that took your heart when you were making it? Something that it's personal to you?
You know,
we all like different flavors of it.
they're also, Samantha, they're also unique and different in their own way. I mean, what we tried to do with the Mixology Edition was to create a different experience with each flavor. And, you know, we've used some herbs that create, you know, a tingly, effervescent feel that, no, it doesn't come from mint or menthol. You know, there's the tartness in Perpetual Check that is almost like the flavor you get when you're eating a tart yogurt instead of a sweet yogurt, being that it comes from black currant and fig. And then, you know, we have 64 with cucumber, cool mint, and a hint of dill, which, you know, that is an experience in itself that it's different, and that's kind of what we've always tried to set out to do. We haven't tried to chase what people are. I mean, right now the hottest thing going is vanilla custard, and we're trying not to chase those things, and instead we're trying to just create different, unique experiences. But back to your original question, which one kind of came first and took our heart? Lucina was actually made for Brooke, who is an assistant here, who begged and pleaded for a peach cobbler, and we took it one step further and started adding some other things to it. And Brooke probably gets the credit on the first mixology flavor outside of Castle Long.
And you used classic cocktails as an inspiration for a lot of the mixology flavors, and I find that just it's lovely. And the flavors actually have a cocktail essence to them. It tastes like something you would have as an after dinner drink. So is there a reason you chose the certain cocktails especially in 64 and in 5th rank? The Lime Rickeys, I have to look at my page. Is there a reason you chose those specific beverages to sort of play with?
Well, I mean, there's only so many liquors or spirits that you can work with, and you know, we didn't. You know, I mean, how many drinks are made up of a rum, or how many drinks are made up of a vodka, or we didn't want to replicate any flavor with using the same note twice. So everything is unique, and I think that's probably how more than anything how it got spread out to where it's anything twice.
is there anything else you'd like to share about the specific flavors of the Mixology Edition?
I probably need to shut up because I've been talking too much, so I'll leave that to anybody else.
Vince and I just went to Washington, Oregon, and I really liked introducing these new flavor profiles because there's kind of a balance there. We have two, based on vintage cocktails, we have the two darker.
Oh, I've lost y'all. Hang on one second. Hang on, guys. We lost him there for just a minute.
But yeah, the balance between the entire line, it excites me. I like to have them all available to kind of mix up the day. And there's a lot of refreshing flavors in this. That it's really exciting. It's getting a lot of favor, fortunately, and we'll see what the rest of the community feels. But it's been exciting.
Yeah, Go ahead. I was going to say, and we all, obviously in developing these things, we all like to sit on them for quite a few days and take one of the flavors and, keep it as an all-day vape and try it for a long period of time and then move on to the next one and, things like that. And it's amazed me at how it's come up with that, how refreshing they are and how you can all-day vape a lot of these and then you move on to the next one and it just brings a totally new, different experience that it's hard for me now, obviously Castle Long Reserve it's been in my tank, ever since we created it. I go back and forth to Gambit and Grandmaster and Clean Side quite a bit as well. But with these new ones, I thought Castle Long would be the leader in the pack for me since I was so used to it. And Perpetual Check and Fifth Rank are two that I've absolutely fallen in love with. And each one of those are so different. I think that it spreads the palette quite wide with these 5 flavors.
And I think one of the things about Five Ponds, corporate company identity is, I think we really set out to not play it safe, as Rodney said. We're trying to push the what is considered a norm out there. And so when we set out to do this new line, I mean, Rodney came up with some some flavors that are just amazing with combinations of ingredients that you would not experience or wouldn't think that would go into a vape.
I mean, like fig and black currant. It's
currant, mint,
barley.
Barley. There's just so many different things that that push the envelope and that just have created 5 distinct, complex flavors that are really don't I don't think there's anything like them out in the market.
Yeah.
Well, and they're very, very different from the original Five Ponds flavors, which is amazing. It makes y'all more appealing to people with broader palates. We lost you a little bit there for a minute, Jay. But what kind of reactions have you had from your retail partners who've tried it? I mean, has anybody been? Do you have any funny stories? That's what I'm trying to ask. I'll put it bluntly.
We've had a lot of stories, a lot of great responses. Well, Vince and Jay have been out kind of tasting a few more than we have. We've been kind of locked down in the office, so Vince will probably answer that.
I mean, so far, really positive. I mean, it looks to be Perpetual Check, are the most talked about. Of course, Castle Long as well, but for the new flavors, seeing a lot of buzz with the Perpetual Check. My personal favorite currently is the Fifth Rank. Followed by the 64. I've been on those for a couple of weeks now. The last few days I've been vaping the Lucina and been trying it at different temperatures, wrapping coils a little different each time. And I found the perfect mix with the Cave Fun wrapped at 1.1 ohm. And the Lucina is just phenomenal right now. So this is probably my new favorite, taking the place of the Fifth Rank currently. But definitely got some heavy hitters in this line, and I'm expecting big things on it.
You want to touch on some of the retailers you saw and
when we go visit the retailers, we go in humbled. We're all about supporting the brick and mortar. We know that online business is out there, but our business is built with the brick and mortars and with groups like you and the grassroots organizations like Vape Meet. So getting out and pressing flesh and seeing everybody. It's just so fun. But then when we introduce new flavors and they get to read the tasting notes and identify with their palates, and really catch those subtle notes and those underlying notes that Rodney has slid in there, but in a really nice harmony. It's great to see people kind of light up and kind of determine what their new flavor is and what they're going to be going after when it's released. So, you know, talking about that with our brick and mortars, with everyone out there, we're looking at getting all of the stores a sample of this, 30 ml bottles, within the next, shipping out within the next week. Then we're going to be hitting stores all through March. So it'll be out in the marketplace here soon enough. So I know this is kind of a tease, and Samantha, you have the product, but not a whole lot of people do. And we were able to get a good random sampling of the Pacific Northwest and some places around here in LA with Vince, and it's exciting. But the response overall has been really, really good.
And I think the key from the stuff that we've seen when we went out to Nevada and Vegas was that, you know, a lot of these stores have carried, you know, hundreds of different flavors and many different lines, and all good products. What we were really impressed with from, you know, we as a company, we really don't try many other products. We really want to keep our focus on what we're trying to do, to Rod's point. So we were pretty impressed with how different our products stacked up to all the other flavors that are out there. And we found that we were very, very different, obviously different than Signature, but very different than a lot of the other offerings that are in the marketplace right now because of the unique individual flavors that are added to come up with the flavor harmonies for the final result. We're utilizing products that not many companies are using in the marketplace. And then when you mix little, it really enhances what, you know, we're trying to do with it. So it's been overwhelmingly good response, and more so a response of something that's so different coming from Five Ponds. So that's been good to hear.
Well,
Quick correction though. Every time we're out in the field, we taste everything, Vince and myself, because we're out there. We keep the suits in the office, and we keep Heisenberg in his lab and don't let him taste anything, because he needs the most. You know, he's developing these flavors. So literally, we are a sounding board for Rodney and the guys.
Well
so,
said.
Yeah.
The
suits say it.
I guess us three in here are the ones that are in the office with our head down, and we're kind of just locked into our flavors.
I actually took off my suit and put on my hoodie just for this.
I don't know many people that have more liquid than Vince. Though you go to his house and there's a plethora of everything you can imagine. So.
I mean, enough liquid in mods that the shelf falls off of the wall. It can't even hold the support of it. So.
Well, as you know, I try liquid for the vape meets. I try liquid for the show. I've got an embarrassing quantity of liquid. I'm embarrassed by how much e-liquid I have, and it really is a matter of there are probably 100 e-liquids out there that, or e-liquid companies that make, say, a cucumber mint flavor, but I've never tasted one like 64. And that's a big thing for people who've been vaping as long as y'all have, for people who've been vaping a year or more, who've had the opportunity to try and experience different companies. Finding a new vendor is really, or finding a new flavor is really difficult, because flavors tend to be reused in a lot of different places. I have a question from the audience. It's a little bit off the cuff. I think it was Greg, but Greg wants to know what kind of mustache wax you use, Vince.
I use Firehouse mustache wax.
Thank you.
I've tried 50 different kinds, and that's the best one so far.
Well,
and that's taken him a long time to perfect that mustache.
And you know, I got my vape mail with the Mixology Edition yesterday, and I sat down and I looked at the tasting notes, and I've tried all the flavors, and of course trying 5 different e-liquids is one thing in a day, or about 36 hours now. Is there a certain, and such complex flavors tend to lead to olfactory fatigue. Is there a certain order that y'all would suggest? If someone's going to sit down and try all 5 flavors, I'm taking these to the meet, I'm going to have people who want to try all 5. Is there an order that they should be tried in to sort of?
Yeah, I mean, the presentation packages that are going out beginning Friday and into early next week to all of our retail partners, we've listed the tasting notes, and there's an insert that goes into the presentation box that takes them in the order that we think are best, and that's basically starting with Castle Long, getting into Lucina, because those are some of the darker spirits that are being used, or the notes of darker spirits used in those flavors. Then kind of, which can almost be a palate cleanser, so to speak. It's like getting your dish of sorbet in between courses at a good restaurant. And then, believe it or not, we actually had it with Fifth Rank being the next one to try, but have put Perpetual Check in between 64 and Fifth Rank, because there's something going on in Fifth Rank that is truly unique, and that's the horehound herb that's used in that is a pretty different experience, and it's kind of better in that particular order, I think.
Yeah, I equate making liquid to be very, very similar to being a chef in a restaurant. You know, you've got really fine restaurants that have different, you know, they want you to experience a meal in a certain order, and that is what the Mixology Edition especially reminds me of.
Good.
Is there anything y'all would like to share? I have a couple questions from viewers. We've covered most of them, actually. Oh, I have one from Josh, one of our hosts here. He would like to know if he will be able to get the new flavors in a sample pack similar to the one that you offer for the old flavors.
Who wants to answer that?
Yeah, we are going to be offering the Mixology Edition in a sample pack very similar to how our Signature Series is offered in its sample pack. However, we are going to allow all of our stores to carry the product in their shops first before we launch those on our website. So our goal is to start shipping the product to the stores the first week of March, allow them a few days to carry the product and start tasting some of their end users on it, get some of the product in the market. After that, we're going to have the 30 ml bottles on our website, as well as sample packs, the 5 flavors in 4 milliliter drams, just as our Signature Series is offered. And that'll be around let's call it mid to second week of March.
And someone in chat has asked if these are limited flavors, which I know y'all can answer.
Yeah, these are not limited in any way. These are going to be as available as the Signature Series was for the past year.
Do y'all, and feel free to not answer. I made a gesture which y'all can't see. Sorry. Are there any plans? Y'all don't have any plans of retiring the Signature Series and replacing it with Mixology, right?
No.
Good.
These will be our 10 flavors moving forward in their entirety throughout 2014 and beyond.
And I have noticed, and of course y'all have been, again, in business for, we'll say a couple of years now. That's more than a year, so it counts as a couple of years. And you've released a line. You released a line in January of last year, I want to say the timeline on that was, and you're releasing this one in March of this year. Are you already thinking about another line for 2015?
Yeah, we can't really talk about it yet. It's going to be not necessarily another line, but something very similar to the way that we rolled out Castle Long Reserve. There will be something, we're going to allow Mixology Edition to kind of have its day in the sun and have some fun with that for a while, but there is something that has been developed and is still that will fall on the heels of Mixology. But it won't be another 5 flavors. It's going to be another reserve concept similar to that of Castle Long.
And to be, you know, we really don't see ourselves creating or having 25 flavors on the market at one time anyway. We want to, we spend our time with the flavors that we release to the market, and we stand behind them, and we really don't foresee being make 25, 50 flavors and blast the market with it. So there's some other things that we're working on, but in terms of the total quantity, who knows how that's going to play out.
And I'm just looking at chat, just briefly. We have a viewer who is very, very fond of y'all's Grandmaster. He raves about it all the time. And he would like to know, I know he asked what y'all think the best new flavor is, but I think what he really wants to know is if he's just in love with Grandmaster, what flavor should he try from the new Mixology line first?
I'd probably steer it into Lucina, and Castle Long would be probably another good recommendation if he's a Grandmaster fan.
And my friend Zach would like to know if you guys like tacos.
Oh, yeah.
I love tacos. Who doesn't love tacos?
Crispy.
Taco Tuesday last night.
Fish tacos for me.
Oh, see, fish tacos here and fish tacos in California are very different. I've had the beautiful, like, ahi tuna and citrus ginger slaw tuna tacos. That's
exactly what I was thinking of.
no. People here eat fried fish in tacos, which is not the same.
Hey, but those were really good too. Can't beat a fried fish taco.
Style.
Can't wait to get out there and eat some of your food. It's going to be great.
Let's see. All right, I think that is it for viewer questions. I would, if you guys would like to talk about, we had some viewer questions. This is old news now, but I know your tasting bar had a break-in out in California a couple weeks ago. And there's been sort of, I guess partly because we are in such a small community, we hear about all of these break-ins that are happening. There's been several in Oklahoma. Do you want to say anything about that?
I mean, I don't think it was anything more than a random act of crime. I think the people that broke in to our tasting bar had no regard for anything other than looking for cash. And we don't keep any money at our tasting bar. We're not really even a vape shop, so to speak. I mean, we have a few or a handful of hard to find items that are in our tasting bar from time to time, but it's really just about our liquid. And I think it was having reviewed all the footage, and it was just somebody desperate thinking that maybe on a Sunday night after a long weekend that somebody might have forgotten to take cash out of the cash drawer. And thankfully he made off with the cash drawer, and there's probably, to his surprise, nothing in it when he got it open. So I hope it was worth it.
Great. We had another question in chat that I wanted to ask you, and I don't know. This might also be. I know Vince is the one who y'all have talked about having lots of hardware. Is anybody thinking about working with or making a mod at some point, or an atomizer?
That's probably not something that we want to go into at this point. But we try to do one thing and do one thing well, and that's make liquid. And it's flattering when we get approached by some people wanting to do some collaborative efforts. And I'm not saying that we won't do something like that down the road, but in all honesty, Samantha, we have been up to our eyeballs in this mixology launch and trying to prepare for that. And that's been going on, again, since September, October, November, and it's here now, and we really haven't had a lot of time to even think about that. We're trying to put our heads down and do what we do. Hopefully what people think is good, and they appreciate our efforts, and do one thing well.
Well, great. And someone again asked if y'all have t-shirts, and I know you do, and I want to say are they available on the site yet? Are they going to be on the site?
They will be ready at the end of this month. You know, they're taking a lot longer than anybody wanted them to take because they're all being sewn. It's a cut and sew. It's not like we just bought a stock blank off the shelves and are having our names screen printed on it. We put a lot of thought into the t-shirts like we do into our liquid, and this is kind of a vintage raglan style shirt that's somewhat distressed. It's been garment dyed and enzyme washed and beaten up so that it really feels good to the hand, and it's soft. They're ready at the end of the month. We're going to probably be looking to put them into some select retail partner hands. Obviously, guys behind the counter will use these for marketing purposes to get some of our guys behind the counter wearing our shirts, and then we'll also have them for sale on our website as well.
Great. Well, and again, for those of y'all who didn't catch the whole interview, the Mixology line should be available in brick and mortars at the beginning of March, and then online towards the end of March, middle to end, correct?
Middle of March, yeah.
And do y'all have anything you'd like to share before we wrap this up?
Thanks to everybody for watching. Thank you, Samantha, for the opportunity to come on and get to speak with the people on the show.
It all goes to our customer and people like you and the vape leads and just the community as a whole, and everyone working together. It's a fun endeavor, and it's great to work with everybody out there.
Thank you.
And I will say that we feel like we have some of the best fans out there in the vaping community. Let's stay close with them on our Facebook page. When people reach out, our customer service, we really pride ourselves on responding to all the different questions that are asked to us. And we've got quite a nice little Five Ponds family through our Facebook page, Instagram, and on our website. And we just really appreciate the support, not only from our retail partners who sell our product and promote it, but also the end users who are purchasing our product. We really appreciate all the support. And if there's any questions anybody has, please reach out to us on our Facebook page, Instagram, or at fiveponds.com, and we'd be happy to answer any of those questions.
And Samantha, to you and the viewers, anybody in the Southern California area, if you guys ever come out this way, please stop by our tasting bar. We do a lot of, that's actually where we start doing our research and development, where we're talking about these new flavors. Mixology was in the hands of customers, or when we're trying customers here in Irvine. So we'd love to have you. You're in town, give us a shout. We come over and say hi, and love to meet you in person. So.
And if there's anyone that doesn't have a store nearby that carries Five Ponds, please reach out to sales. We'll make sure they get it. We pride ourselves on getting back to people, like Gavin said.
Yeah, you can go on wholesale at Five Ponds. Any questions, guys?
My Peach Brook. You got to see my
This
Peach Brook. This is Lucina.
This is where Lucina came from, right
Come
here.
on in, Brooke.
Say hi, Brooke.
Hi.
This is Brooke. Is she coming? There she is.
Hi, Brooke.
She's the glue that keeps us all together.
That's right.
Wonderful. Well, Mike says hi. I hope everybody who's watching right now is going to stick around for about 15 minutes for All Meshed Up with Mike the Hill Giant. That is up next. And I just want to say thank you guys for coming on and doing an interview with us at VapeOn. I mean, it's really fantastic how y'all are so involved in the community while still working so hard to provide such beautiful products with such just great flavors and amazing presentation. I mean, I can't imagine how much work y'all do to make this happen. So thank you, and I guess good night.
Thank you, Samantha.
Thank you,
Say
Samantha.
hi to Mike, and thanks to everybody that watched. You guys are great. Love you.
Take
Bye-bye.
care. Cheers. Thank you.